You're listening to Wolf Spirit Radio.
Well, greetings, everyone, and thank you for joining us here at Answers from the Universe. I am your host, Jessica Ariel Morocco, and also co-host here, JP. And delighted to be here today, another day in January here, and coming out of the Boston area, Massachusetts. And, of course, JP's out there in Scotland. So, as you know, we're the continuation of Andronicus and his many other friends. There's all sorts of connections, and they're all speaking up and have their own voice. I was completely amazed. I got transmissions from 4 of them this week, and didn't even have a chance to edit some of them. It's just been quite overwhelming, but I really wanted to write down what was being said just to preserve it and for us to take a look at it and discuss it briefly. I know we do this within 2 hours. Like I said, it's not typical. I think one transmission should be adequate, but for whatever is coming through right now, whether it's the multiple timelines coinciding, it's a crucial time in our history maybe this thing's going on the upper levels in the other dimensional space that is affecting us right now. So the information coming through may possibly assist us. And if anything sounds worrisome, it's actually good if the information comes out so we can pinpoint it, understand what it is, and then send our intentions to resolve it. I think the hardest part is when we don't know what's going on. And so if there is something that needs to be adjusted, then we can't alter that. So you know what I'm saying, JP? Welcome to the show.
Hiya. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. And, I'm a little, some of the statements were a little troubling when they came through to me, this week, but I think that, it's good to talk about some of this stuff because it kind of brings it out in the open, just like anything, And particularly, we had a discussion about the incident that I called the Cloud Walker, and you had said that it was debunked, and it looked like it was thoroughly debunked. Did you want to say anything about that, JP?
Well, it was very interesting. I mean, the fact that it triggered something is another interesting thing, but many people are kind of... You see, the thing about a photograph, a digital photograph, when it's created, it's stored in a way that's called a JPEG, which is the Joint Pictures Group or something. It's a file compression, picture compression algorithm. And so what it does, it takes what we see as an image and then reduces it to something that when you unzip it, so to speak, comes out looking more or less like that. It's a bit like the audio version of an MP3. So it takes out a lot of information and replaces it with something like a kind of noise that kind of simulates the sort of scattering of light that you see in that area of the picture. Am I making sense?
Yes.
So
yes, you are.
When you then zoom into digital photographs, what you're then starting to see are the patterns of the algorithm itself. As you zoom into it, you see more and more details that the algorithm has put there. It's not the actual photo. It's like a kind of scattering of light from a point source that is, maybe you've got a candle inside a box that's got one little hole in it. And so you're not getting the whole light, you're just getting one fragment of the light. And that's, and then you project that into the whole image of the candle. It's not the whole thing. You don't see. So what I'm trying to say is that when you look at these photographs, when you highly magnify them, you don't start seeing the detail of it. You start seeing like an artifact. You start seeing what your brain's projecting into it, basically. So people saw all sorts of things. I mean, my girlfriend, she said that it looks like it got a dog's face.
Yes, I thought so too.
Yeah. So,
it was magnified.
Whereas, I looked at the head and I thought, oh, that looks like Batman. It's got the very smooth head and these two little pointed ears. It looks like Batman's cowl. Not, So everybody's got their own interpretation of what that actually says. And for a lot of it, it's, for want of a better word, random noise. That is then interpreted by the person who's looking at it. Now, that doesn't mean that what you see is not something that is real, but what I'm saying is what you saw may not be what actually that was, but that there is something in there that you're seeing, that's the kind of keyhole into some other information. Am I making sense at all?
Yes, and I think what the debunker did was they identified and showed that it was a smokestack, and the smokestack was coming up, and because there were two smokestacks, it created what appeared to be legs, and then a torso as the smoke came together and creating this torso. From the perspective, I guess it was a gentleman from Ireland that took the picture outside of a window of a plane, and I called him the cloud walker because what else are you going to call? It looks like someone with legs walking along the clouds. My first impression when I saw it, and usually I've seen all sorts of extraterrestrial imagery, and I usually don't have a huge response to it. Something triggered in me, whether it was actually something there and hiding or giving me an impression of something was in the space. It triggered this energy that came to me when I was a very young child, and I agree that it looks very much like smoke or something, just like they had said. However, there was also an energy there, so I can't identify that. Sometimes extraterrestrials do hide behind natural occurrences. And I have often felt that extraterrestrials show up, during snowstorms because they're harder to detect during a storm. And I've had that validated once or twice, where I said, I felt very strongly that there was an extraterrestrial in the space. And some would say, well, it was just like snow. And then the following day, someone else noticed a craft or had some pictures of it in the area. So, similar. I agree, and I don't want to discount, because I do believe, and it's good to be honest. And even as an intuitive, I'm not going to be headstrong and say, hey, I know it's exactly this, even though they're saying it isn't, and even though they've proven that it isn't. I mean, that's really foolish, and it's counterproductive of what that I want to do. I want to bring forth the truth. I don't need to be right. I don't think that's what it's all about. I think it's trying to know that everything is going to be okay. And my true concern is that we are okay. Well, anyhow, I did check and felt that our security from an extraterrestrial standpoint might have been breached. That was just my feeling. I just felt that possibly there was another race or something had come into our field and they're observing us. Was it exactly that image? Probably not, but maybe there was the way it looked, or something happened.
Apparently, this was somewhere over Belgium.
Yes. Yes.
And I'm just wondering, Belgium and CERN are not far away from each other. They're borders.
Oh.
So it may be that you're actually picking up on the space that's there, because that's exactly what they were trying to do at CERN.
Yes.
According
that's
to
exactly what I agree.
Okay, so so that's what I'm saying is that it was a trigger point. It might not be what we projected it to be, like a person walking in the clouds. But what you were picking up on was the menace that existed in the space that was created in. So what I'm saying is that, that was, it's like a tarot image. You see somebody laying dead on the tarot card, but that's not yours. You're not looking at somebody who's dead. It's a symbol, it's a metaphor of the energy that's around them. Does that make sense? So what I'm saying is that, you know, that sparked in your mind to you at that point, the first point, you saw a robot, and then you were triggered the robot space, and I immediately thought of the Cybermen of Doctor Who.
Yeah, definitely.
And so, you know, what I'm saying is I'm not discounting. I'm not saying, you're talking rubbish. I'm saying that everybody's got their interpretations, but you're right in picking up there's something evil going on in it.
Yeah,
the menace was there in that space. I think
it felt like a breach of potential apocalyptic breach.
Yeah,
and
that's what they're trying to do. That's what CERN's for. That's what they're trying to do.
It gripped me in my gut. You know, I always know when I get that feeling, something's seriously wrong. And so now we open the doorways to find out that there are some different things going on that they're trying to communicate and let us know about, and then we can discuss them. I'm looking at, we've had some very strange things happening regarding people that are leaving us in the music industry. You know, the people that are checking out, it's time for them to move on. Some of them have lived, you know, fairly decent length of time and had enjoyed quite a bit in their life and even lived very, you know, reckless at times and still sustain themselves, and some of them not maybe, but I don't know, but it just seems kind of odd that they're all leaving right around the same time, and I wonder if, you know, our friend David Bowie, who's definitely a beautiful star energy, had maybe a connection to them, and they're all kind of left as a group. I don't know. But I think that in many ways they still leave an impression on us and provide a lot of, I'll say, musical harmony. They've left that behind, and they continue to send that from the other side. So that's going on too simultaneously. We got a lot of different things to cover today, I think.
Wow. So we'd better crack on. So, having arrived in CERN, let's use the CERN magical spinning. Actually, no. Let's use this one. Where should we start, Jessica, today?
Where should we start? Well, you know what? I'm going to give you. I think we're going to start with Rhodan. I think we're going to start with Rhodan because
you're going to have to give me the document then. I'm
going to be sending that over in just 2 seconds.
All right.
There's another thing that's going around. I just wanted to mention really quick.
Okay.
And I don't know if you've looked into this at all, JP, but since we're really talking about sci-fi, UFOs, and all these other things that are going on around the world, there is something about these odd sounds that people are hearing, these magnified, like almost otherworldly, some kind of spacecraft thundering sound. Have you been hearing that on YouTube, Facebook?
Yeah, there's they call them the apocalyptic sounds because some of them sound like a kind of big horn.
Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some also are like a kind of sound. There's another one that is like kind of like if you amplified that 1 billion times. A lot of them are creakings, groans, and escapes, like a burp. Yeah. So the trumpet ones. If you have a volcanic shaft and there's a discharge of hot gases that is coming up it's going to be like a trumpet. It's going to be like a didgeridoo. Something's going to vibrate in it and it's going to resonate. And that's what makes that sort of sounds. Other people say that they're the ventilation shafts from underground bases being vented.
Okay.
Again, same thing. Long tube sticking air in it. It's going to vibrate. It's going to resonate and make all these big sounds. I do get the feeling that, some of these guys who know what's going on are reading all the things that people are saying and going, snigger, snigger, snigger. Oh, look, they think it's this, they think it's that. But there may be very mundane in terms of, like, what the world, just like, when you get old and you creak, your bones creak and crack, is that what's happening to the earth, And it's like, when I say it's mundane, it's to do with the planet herself. Go ahead.
Is it possible that, we do have guardians that are essentially silent to our ears, but when they want, they can almost give us like a warning sign?
I wouldn't.
Anything's possible.
Anything's possible, yeah. It depends,
Aside from.
Yeah. I mean, if you hear a siren, you know that it's there so get out of its range. Take cover, because if you can get out of the range of the siren's where bad things are going to happen, so get away from there. But except most people think a siren, oh, I must go towards the sound. That's a good idea. Anyway.
Yeah, like following a tornado.
That's been humanity's downfall for a long time. I think that's what... Oh, look, there's something going on. Let me go and have a look.
Yeah. So there's a big opening in the ground, and let's go over and stand over it so we can fall
Let me
in.
stand right on the edge of this collapsing hole.
It's like, don't touch the hot iron, Oh, gosh. Right.
So, there's Rhodan.
Rhodan.
Okay.
Rhodan, 7.
Yeah, thank you.
We're starting with Rhodan only because he is intense as usual.
Mr. Intensity, okay. Right, so let's skin this up. There we go. Let's have another arrival. Hang on. Rhodan 7. The sky has not abated its breath. The trees curl underfoot, and the earth begins to tremble. You have been mindful of these changes, are holding your head up, looking deep into the cosmos for answers. We are also in bated breath to see the stars spinning about us. It is nearly the time of the gathering. All of my adversaries have arrived. Isn't it fitting that we air this live over Scotland in the Highlands? If you've seen the film Highlander,
Rhodan's got a sense of humor, doesn't
he has. And there's almost a lifting from the Highlander film. It is nearly the time of the gathering. Okay. Meanwhile, you have wondered why we bother allowing you to hear our conversations, our thoughts and extraneous expressions regarding you and the many around you. It is my thought that as you had wanted to be gods, such as us, then you can observe and feel what it is to deal with the many travesties and complexities the natural communications of people of opposites coincide. Though you are searching for a great awakening, you with blind eyes have not observed the wars within wars of dimensions all around you. We did not create it. It existed far above and below. You, wanting to learn what it is to be like us, has warranted this experience. I was foretold that you would be an integral part. When I say you, I'm referring to all those on the planet. The dark side knew that you would be filled with arrogance, unearthly, lofty thoughts, narcissism and cruelty to those around you. That some, like Nimrod, would see themselves as the powers that be. And so, there you have it. The earth is on a pinnacle of a change, and I am handing over the powers to you to see what you will do. Rather than be protective of your outer region, I have chosen to care for my personal needs and deal directly with the Council in Orion. If you want me, you must go to my father, Shiva, first. I am not here to be worshipped by you, nor do I gain anything from your deplorable energy. This is not the gain, but the entities. This is not our gain, but the entities who are pulling your energy, or loosh, as you call it, We exist with or without you. We were created long before you were a thought.
Why are you speaking in this manner? Are you saying you don't want to speak to me any longer?
Not you. I was thinking about the frustration of expression towards the population as a whole. You don't understand. We have spent a great deal of our energy to retain a protection about the Earth. My son Dag, you know as David Bowie, is now with me. He is going about restoring the problems that he was not able to resolve while he was alive. The angel, Alan Rickman, was sent to protect him while he was on the planet. He couldn't leave until Dag was finished. He wanted to leave so much sooner.
Does the angel have a name?
The name...
Was he...
Oh, sorry. Go on.
Was he a fallen angel or one in allegiance with you?
The name is Damien. You are silent and halted your thought when I told you that. I should say, you know him as Damien. That is not his real name. He intended to challenge you. I told him you would not be an easy one to deal with. The remnant of his energy still remains around you. Try not to react to it. He has left your sphere and his covering other tactics of interaction. He has left your sphere and his covering other tactics of interaction. He never told you the truth as to why he was around you. I suppose it is a good time to tell you. With your awakening, you were beginning to see too far into our plans. You even saw how you were forced into this lifetime. You were right into believing that this was not your job. It was Michael's. He has also been a problem to you. Ariel, why do you continue to search for more answers? Will you let enough alone? We are burdened by your frustration. Be at peace with your life. Though it was not supposed to be your time, you carried out what many thought couldn't be done.
I did this with much anguish and sorrow. No one understood, and still not even you. Does anyone else want to walk in my shoes? I'll gladly give this away. Where is Michael now?
Ariel, please, be at peace now. He didn't mean to harm you, but rather halt you. None of them had intended to hurt you.
If you want me to continue, then I need to know that they will leave me alone. I'm tired of this nonsense and obstructions.
I've ordered them all to leave you alone and allow you to peacefully continue your work. You're right. Many have been helped by you. Try to release your anger and frustration. I can't guarantee they will always listen. Some are still programmed like Meetis. Meetis was once very pure. He is also someone who is having a hard time removing the program. Oh, he's also someone we're having a hard time removing the program from. I've allowed him to speak to you so you can see the long process involved in releasing the energies that come up from the planet. They're very toxic if drawn in all at the same time. As we speak, Michael is cut off from you now and is required to correct the problems he caused around you.
Why is he so resentful of me? What did I do to deserve this?
We'll speak of it later. I will loose the ties that held you tight to him. You will feel released in time as he begins to fix the problems he accumulated since your inception on the planet. I have given him a new directive that will prevent him from fixating on your interaction with people.
Well, what if others call upon him to bother me?
Well, then he will have to deal with me. I bothered you and the others who didn't take a stand between the light and the dark. You were in the middle and subjected to both bothering you, such as Michael and Damien.
What's my purpose here? To tread water? Or is there nothing here for me since I was pushed from the edge in the lifetime prior to my time? Was I not written into the story and merely an extraneous afterthought?
No, nothing happens by accident. It was one of the many trials we had decided to run through to see what would work. You have been a surprising success, despite your feelings about a meaningless life. The dynamic of your personality enabled me to bridge both rebel and light creatures to communication once again. The Chedron delight in you and are awaiting your arrival.
What of Primus? Does he also get free from the same challenges?
He has another set of challenges. He is a part of many things in the future. His resourcefulness has far exceeded our expectations as well. He is also connected to many others who will be integral in what is happening in his part of the world. Great warriors of stupendous alignment. I shall see what their hearts desire. Now that we've had the discussions that needed clarity, we're about to correct some other wrongs and await a much greater event. The arrival of the ones, Yon Tiamat, Silvaros Tinliquid Sordid. A mighty army is prepared for the second coming of the ones, who have made themselves into a new form. Afterwards, we shall speak to the visitor who dares observe our space upon the cloudy ethers of the firmament. A great army awaits his assessment to battle. Gupta has finally proven to be the betrayer of us all. We asked him to discontinue his response, and he wouldn't listen. When we pulled him from the depths, he had already sent out a cosmic alarm that brought them here. It is distressing, but we knew it would happen. The problem was that so many were suspects and could not arrive on time to correct this. Now it is done. The problem now awaits us. So many rebels, so much time wasted. The times being altered, and madmen like Meetis only made it all worse.
What should we do then?
Await my information regarding actions. You will see a light on the horizon that is unusual. This is their arrival. We can only wait now and see what happens. We've never dealt with them before. I have removed everyone else's connection to the cosmos. There were 4 others who had the keys to a sounding board across time-space. It is only supposed to be used by the highest of powers. Gupta's key was removed. We now need to retrieve 4 others. Never again will the power be given to a seemingly trustworthy priest.
Why did Gupta rebel like this? Andronicus trusted him, and so did Shiva.
Everyone has a freedom of choice to follow and carry out their own drama. They knew much better, but chose to be an opposing party by violating things to a level of disturbing effects. I can't go into the many infractions Gupta caused to our race as well as the human race, and all races for that matter. We have no idea why he chose that. He didn't care about power. He had all love and praise that one could imagine.
Like a rebel without a cause?
Something like that, but this is nothing to speak lightly of. A troubled conscience within, it is hard to pinpoint exactly what the problem was, as there were numerous complaints and demands from him. Never satisfied with anything, that's all. He, like Meetis, indulged in everything. Only Gupta used religion as his platform. Meetis used magic. Meetis was as a muse of sound at one time. Gupta deceived masses of people with his influence. We had hoped that many of his followers would have given him some level of contentment, yet nothing quenched his unending thirst for more. Meetis, fortunately, is coming along. It has been wearisome for all of us. We understand your complaints and all. Try to be at peace and keep a clear mind. Keep your thoughts fixed upon the clouds now. Our greatest challenges lie ahead. Over and out. Well. Meanwhile, back in the studio.
Yeah, he
can be pretty intense, can't he?
He is very intense, but it's almost like he's kind of watching everything spinning around him. Everything's happening, and people that have the power, that I think the shock of Gupta being a betrayer was very hard. I think they had hoped to bring him back. But what I was seeing is that his energy was over a lot of these type of belief systems and religions that led people astray, put them in circumstances, extreme religions where people had died.
Puts people into duality. That's the problem.
Yeah. I think he just liked playing with people, creating new thoughts and philosophies, and then maybe channeling it down to people where then they would carry it out to an extreme. And anything out of balance or an extreme, this presents a problem. So,
yeah, the problem is it freezes things in polarity. Because if you cut, you see, in these situations, you are forced to accept a belief, right? Which is not a truth; it's a belief, and then build your logic from that belief. That's the problem. That's why it's such a cognitive dissonance, because it's all, it might do wonderful things for people. It might build hospitals and it might cause people to become great guardians. But it's built upon a non-truth. And so it will always collapse, and it will always collapse into the people. It'll rot from the inside.
Some of the information that early on of what he said had to do with me personally, and was my own frustration, and the conversation came through. I chose to leave it in. I didn't have to, but I thought it would help provide some insight on the way that I have been communicated with early on has not been pleasant. I had some realizations and epiphanies of different things. And I'm grateful that Rhodan has, not only did he talk to me about it, but I actually feel different. I feel that I have less obstructions and things are going better for me. I don't know if that has affected you at all, JP, if things have gotten a little lighter for you maybe since last week, but I felt a significant change.
Yeah, apart from today, or apart from yesterday, that was fine. But I'm sure we'll find out more as the conversation goes on.
Yeah. So I thought we should go to Meetis.
Let's go and meet Meetis.
Because he is the other potential problem on the planet that I think Rhodan's really has been working with, and I'll tell you, he's gotten under my skin a few times. But, I can put it aside because I know that there's some redeeming qualities, and here again, like Gupta, there was persuasion and I can't blame everything on Aldebaran, but you're early on in our, prior to our human history, Aldebaran has seemed to have been an influence in a negative way, so, and including Meetis.
Right.
So anyhow.
Well, it's blame it on the Aldebarans, because really, you can. It is all their fault.
Should be a song, right? Just blame it on the Aldebarans.
Don't blame it on the Pleiadians. Don't blame it on the Syrians. Don't blame it on the Lyrans. Blame it on the Aldebarans. Yeah. Anyway.
You already got it.
Well, with thanks from Michael Jackson. Anyway, let me just activate the appropriate muscles in my brain to get. Yeah, here we go. I can feel Meetis coming on. Oh, all right. Yeah. So we meet again. I'm still on Tartarus, and I hear you pleading with Rhodan. So he proceeds to tell you of how I am disappointing. As you know, I hate being called disappointing. It is not my concern to owe anything for what I did. After all, humans requested and enjoyed my enticements. They dipped deep into my lucid experiences and mirrored my imaginations of experiences. What more should I say? Oh, and yes, I have a new mate. Can you see him?
No. And I don't care that you have a mate on Tartarus or on any other location. Have you heard what happened to Gupta?
Oh, I'm not surprised. He was quite fragrant. Fragrant? He was quite... Ow! Oh, I'm not surprised. He was quite flagrant, you know. If you saw the innocence he lured, then you would not think he got off easily. I mean, he enticed the masses, and look what happened to me. You must notice that the entertainment factor has grown a bit dull on your planet. I'm not allowed to peer through. You caught me today, lurking in the corners of my bright green embodiment. That happened a while before. I see we're behind time now. I'm hardly that colour anymore. I'm a bright red like a rock lobster in hot boiling water. Since I can't be consumed, the heat of the atmosphere is quite punishing, to say the least.
Why are you telling me all of this?
Because you are affected by my whereabouts. Some of those around you are feeling and experiencing my pain. I won't let go of them, and you must help me. No one will even speak to me. Primus can't hear me. I wish he could. He has such a soothing tone, and might play a melody to ease my burning heart. Tell him I love him for being there for me.
He will hear what you have to say. Will you then stop causing problems with me?
You take everything so personal. I just messed with your head. You blew everything out of proportion. Let me explain to you now how it's all going. I'm in a prison, and you are tied to me. I know it wasn't your fault, nor did you ask for it. I am sharing this with you to tell you without Rhodan telling me to. He forced me to speak with you in the first place because I kept interfering with your life. I shouldn't have done that, and maybe I would still be out there playing the air of my own ways. So, I see before me a stairway leading downward. I am ready now to embark on my next lovely journey of reconciliation onto the yellow planet of mental pain. Do you know what that is? It is the place we call Ziggy.
Is that what Dag was singing about? The place you call Ziggy?
Sorry, Ziggy.
It is called that. And is it a planet?
It's a planet, all right. But one has a magnificent orientation. A delightful, adventurous, alluring vision of fantasy.
I turned my head away in frustration because I just didn't feel like he was telling me the truth.
Wait. Don't stop writing. Listen to me. We had been communicating with all life forms from this place we called the Yellow Submarine, the Ziggy, the other side. Like your Jim Morrison. It is the illusions of fantasy that are tapped deeper in the psyche. It is an origin of adventure as we made it to be. The location is a cluster of stars far beyond the Big Dipper. Pure light carriages of falling bitter streams of fire. Some entered in through the carriages of falling chariots of fire. Deep within is a throne for the victor of all delightful melodies and sounds. Our master here is Zamfir. He rules the throne from here. You've been here as well, but was stripped of all your gifts before you left. Do you remember me now?
No, I can't say that I do. And I'm not surprised that you stole from me. You didn't seem to have any value or integrity with anything, as far as I can see.
You're correct. The interaction you had with me was never pleasant. They must have stripped your memory of it. Anyway, we were at the peak of our power then. We took from you because Zamfir gave you everything. You didn't need any of it, or so we thought. I tried to give it back to you, but you didn't care. You still don't care what I tried to do to make things right. So, Zamfir entrusted us to get you what you needed, and we failed to do so. He's very angry at us now. Instead of celebrating, we're awaiting what happens to us here. The yellow flowers? Now we become yellow. Our skin takes on the colour and changes us to the bright green you saw me as. Silly, but true. More like a salamander than a lizard. Some would even call me an elf. I'm now a repulsive mess, to say the least.
I saw an image of Zamfir wearing a long jacket and a white shirt, playing a piano. Then he began to speak to the both of us.
You are both released from my lessons. For your sake, both of you are innocent in my book. I can't speak to the others. Regarding your interaction with Suma, you must release her charms back to her. They do not and never will belong to you, Meetis. Be gone now and leave this place. I want to stay. Please allow me to stay. If you stay, you will be my prisoner here. I no longer want you to carry my music again. Please. Please, I entreat you. Reconsider. It was she, the muse, who made me reckless and full of mischief. She drove me to insanity with her cunning ways.
Zamfir stood over with an unflinching stare. The room became all purple, and he reached down and pulled up Meetis like a cat picking up his young by the scruff of the neck.
This is the last time you will disobey me. You are limited with your abilities moving forward, and you both must work together, or else you will find yourself replaced and unneeded. Do you understand?
Meetis frantically nodded his head. Then he turned and looked at me.
He made it hard for the both of you. I told him to work together as a team, since there were many obstacles out challenging the two of you. How troubling all of this has been. While you were fighting and disagreeing, others gained leverage and stole from you both as well. We must get it all back and restore things to their natural place in time. I will help the both of you, since Meetis is blind as a bat and can't make a sensible decision if his life depended on it. He was supposed to have had the foresight in all of it.
Well, I don't know what I'm agreeing to and won't agree to anything or interact with him if I don't have to.
Don't worry, I will be watching it all very closely. The problems happened when Gupta took the reins and was creating a nightmare for all of us. That good-for-nothing useless worm. All of our hard work was destroyed. He broke into our core and began altering everything. What was up is now down and vice versa. He screwed up all the timelines and where they're intersecting in odd ways. People are stepping into chords of time without even knowing it, and then can never live their normal life again. Such as your friend who was caught in the Bermuda Triangle in one lifetime. This is pulling individuals in two separate directions at once without any control over it. And this is where it stops, right here. As Rhodan said, we have bigger issues without a traitorous tribe as well. My patience is wearing thin. I'll not have the two of you bickering over who's right or wrong. Let's get back to the priorities. Try to be at peace now. Try to release your anger and move forward with your eyes on your purpose here.
Can I ask, is this what you were angry at when I stepped into the dimension as a child while out picking violets? You were the elf or Pan who came to me during that time? And then I thought about the book, The Seer, The Violets in the Grass, and considered it was Zamfir who was angry at me in the book.
That was me. You didn't understand it at the time. Didn't expect that you would write about it until you understood what was going on. We thought that what Gupta was doing had something to do with you and Meetis. Meetis kept avoiding us and hiding. You were so entangled that we thought you knew what was going on. Gupta used your ID stamp to elude us, as well as many others who were entangled, such as Borkum. He was a primary suspect as well. Andronicus was the only one who we saw was in the clear. Unfortunately, he consumed much of our time because he was also creating another cluster of unwanted events. Now the problems are being resolved, we are requiring that full agreement and harmonious communication takes place amongst all of you. This is not the time for petty differences. Tell Primus we will be visiting soon and await our instruction. Remember what I said.
Zamfir turned a stern look upon Meetis. As Meetis cowered under him, a purple dust of smoke swirled immensely wide and upward like a vortex. Off he went. Meetis sat cowering, while the purple dust covered his green body and only his chartreuse green eyes peered through. A tear then dropped from his eyes. It was as if a spell had broken, and he realized what had happened. The look of remorse remained in his face, and then he disappeared like a popping sound and portal closed tightly. That's it.
I'm going to have a separate fairy dust jingle. You have to imagine that was fairy dust. I'm going to have some.
Yeah, his purple dust. I don't know. It's kind of weird. It's cool though.
The purple fairy elf dust. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't call Zamfir a fairy, but
no, you better not.
He's a little bit more powerful than that. A lot more powerful than that. Mm-hmm. He's like the great magician. You know.
Yeah.
Oh. So I would say that Borkum's probably the next one that we should, unless you want to say anything about what's going on with Meetis.
Well, only because he mentioned me. Or it's like, they seem to be calling me Primus. So when they refer to Primus, they're talking about me, and when they refer to Ariel, as you do, they refer to you.
Or Sumer.
Or Sumer, indeed. It's just like this energy of like, do you understand? I get that level of frustration. I really understand Zamfar's level of frustration somehow.
Oh, Meetis is just like, he's
an asshole. He's an asshole. It's like they call him
not
Fetus.
Thinking about anyone else or anything other than what he wants to do at that time, and just likes to irritate people.
Yeah.
But we all know people like that too.
Yeah. He's an annoying. I was not going to say he's annoying. He's an annoying one. Yes. There's a much more satisfying way of saying it, but I can't say it on air. So. So yeah. Meanwhile, where was he? He's talking about Primus. Tell Primus. Yeah, that's right. Tell Primus we will be visiting him soon and await our instruction. That's a weird way of putting it, isn't it? Await our instruction. It's like I've got
that's coming from Zamfir, which usually it would be Rhodan, right? But
yeah. So I better watch out for a purple cloud descending from the eastern sky. Sometimes it just gets too much, doesn't it? It's like
it does.
The WTF factor is just like too intense here. Ziggy Sass, Meetis to Meetis, that's right. Well,
and they're calling it. I was like, I'm not even going to write this stuff down. I said he was just messing with me because he was calling it. This is the Ziggy. This is the yellow submarine. It was a yellow planet. And I was like, well, did they create this because it's actually a reference of what they call it, or is he just messing with my head right now? And I had no idea, so I said, well, all right, do I put it in? I'll put it in. Let's see what happens.
Mm-hmm. So, here's a question that's coming in from the chat. Actually, I'll have a quick look. When you're referring to Michael, are you talking about? Hang on, Archangel Michael. Oh no, you can't hear. Archangel Michael. Anyway, so are you talking about Archangel Michael, the whole big guy with the sword and everything? The guy that's supposed to be in charge is actually not in charge. He's like subordinate to these guys.
No, he's in charge, but I've had conflict with him, and I'm like, if he's supposed to be helping everyone, why is he giving me a hard time? And that was my question to Rhodan, and this has been going on for years, and it goes way back that I've had some interactions with him here and there. Everyone's like, oh, Archangel Michael's here. And I'd say, oh, there he is. Hi. And then he had a chip on his shoulder with me. And so he said that it's because I was neutral party. I was neutral when things happened earlier in time. And so I was neither on one side or the other. I was in between because I refused to get involved.
Dogma.
Which made me at odds with both parties.
The film Dogma. Do you remember that?
Not completely. No.
Azaziel. They're in this bar, and Azaziel is a kind of young, good-looking-ish kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
When
would it be Azrael?
Possibly. I think Azaziel. Anyway,
okay.
he's like, I was an artist. I didn't take sides. I was an artist.
That was essentially me. I said I will not fight against my brother, and boom, it shifted, and that's, I'll just say that was part of my vision and recollection of why a chain of events had happened in my lifetime of who I was connected to and how I didn't take a stance. And because I didn't take a stance, most people say, well, you were neutral, you kind of avoided all the conflict. It was just the opposite. I was getting it from both sides rather than one side. I would have been better off taking one side or the other. And so that's why I'm doing all of this. This work is to correct whatever had happened, and that was my spiritual agreement, is to correct whatever happened as a result of me being neutral. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Well, it in a way, yeah. So the idea is that you can't be neutral on planet Earth? Is that the thing?
Well, I don't know if that's the case, but within that realm, neither one liked me because I didn't take either one's side. So I was subject to problems. There was no protection or defense. The neutral parties did not create a group, or they did not defend each other. We were just sort of left randomly.
Okay.
So I don't know. That's here is supposed to be, if that reflects on our experience here. I don't know about taking sides here. It's different. It's a different dynamic now. It's just being, having your heart open and knowing that everyone has value and not to take or do anything to anyone else and that sort of thing. But in that arena, there was a taking of sides. So whereas Gupta could be like an expression of that, of someone who had chosen to, maybe he was neutral, went ahead and just started doing his own thing. And so he got out from within the place of protection and started doing whatever he felt that he wanted to do. And then when he didn't like it, he tried to bring in another party that was unrelated. And that was this other group that he called forth, which was I was getting triggered by with the Cloud Walker.
All right, yeah. So let's cover that a little bit. How does the Cloud Walker relates to the energy stream that Gupta has opened in our galaxy, which seems to be connected with the whole Philadelphia experiment, kind of Sands of Time timeline thing.
Gupta, when he knew he was going to get in trouble, because he jumped ahead of everyone in the timelines like Borkum did. And when Borkum kept, he had his mind on finding out what was going on and was in some sense working alongside of Rhodan, kind of reporting back to him. Whereas Gupta went forward through the timelines, had left Andronicus way back in time when it was, where were they? The planet Zephron, the blue planet Zephron. Mm-hmm. And so he just took off. He was MIA and started going through the timelines ahead of everyone and then creating different scenarios, primarily in the arenas of religion. and just kind of, we were subjected to it. The human race was subjected to it, and it was it wasn't allowing the human race to do what they would have done naturally. It was creating complexities and problems, and you and I know very well that religions create wars, especially differing belief systems. So the more varying belief systems that occur on the planet, there's more possibility that there'll be warfare. I'm looking at that and saying, and you can extend that to say that all centralization of power, whether it be to do with money or belief, which is energy, will produce war. Right. That's the basic lesson. That's the basic lesson. If you concentrate power, then you'll create war, because other people will want it, other people will feel the need of it, and other people will feel the oppression of it. Right. So what do you do with power? That's the question. How do you handle power responsibly? I think, this is the whole question of the whole story. This is what the whole story is about, of all of these titans that we're talking about here. JP, people would think that you had read through everything, because the way that you ask the questions before we're ready to read the next story is as if you know what's coming, and I know you don't. No, I don't. Because it is about another issue about power that comes up in the future. We're gonna talk about with Borkum, but that's interesting that you posed that question, and you've done this multiple times during the transmissions, because in many ways you know what's going to transpire, but not consciously. Which is why we're doing this together, because we both know it. We both remember it, and we're both like, yeah, why does this all seem familiar? We sort of know this information. And well, I don't know if I actually know it, but I'm able to tune into it with facility, which is interesting. So anyway, let's put a track on. This track is called Synchronicity by the Police. So go ahead. Well, we are back here listening to, I think it was the Police. Thanks for joining us, everyone. And for those that are listening live in the chat room, we appreciate your comments. Feel free to ask us any questions. This was a really heavy-duty one this week. Almost like everything just came in at once, and I'm glad I had the opportunity to write it all down. If anything sounds confusing or needs clarity, please just ask us. We have one more to read, and actually two more. Yeah, we still have Andronicus and Borkum that came through. So, JP, I don't know if I answered your question. Go ahead. I want to say that this is what Rhodan said Gupta did. Gupta was at the end of the line. They found him, they caught him, and they stopped him. Right at the point when he recognized that he was caught, he let out a signal beyond our universe to, like a warning signal that would have brought in another party, some other. And I don't know who the warning signal is supposed to go out to, but this is where I think the whole thing of the Cloud Walker and whatever I was feeling when I saw that came through is that we are being observed. And that was because Gupta let out the warning signal. And that was the part where everyone was upset. Zamfair's upset, and so is Rhodan. So things do get a little bit intense with Borkum, too, because he brings up something else to me. And then Andronicus is in a whole other place. We're going to end it in a lighter tone towards the end.
I'm glad there's going to be a happy ending.
Yes, there's a happy ending towards the end.
And so, hang on a second. I just need to get Borkum. Hang on a second.
Okay. Well, Borkum is, you know, I never thought of this, but I don't know if this is for everyone, but in my case, I was responsible for something from the future. And it explained a lot when this came through, because I had known about this for a while, and I'll give everyone the backstory later, afterwards, about what happened. So,
okay.
Let me know when you get it, JP.
Yep, yeah, I've got Borkum, yeah.
Okay.
So, who's Borkum? What's Borkum? Yeah. I try to pitch Borkum at a kind of, if I can, like, now what's his name? I can't remember the name of this actor. He's like a Shakespearean type actor, you know, his big voice, like Oliver Reed or someone like that. All right, so can you hear me thundering before you?
Okay.
I'm like a broken vessel that cannot be restored or removed. You've done all you can, and yet still I await more. I want more from you. I expect that you understand that merely standing behind me hardly gratifies my need for assistance. No one has been digging the dishes as I have. If you and the human race only knew what was before them, they would be horrified. It would be you destroying your world yourself. I didn't do this to any of you. This was the reality you created.
I don't understand what you're saying. Tell me what you saw.
A cannibalist society. Grotesque humanoids were ravishing the very youth of their existence. Nothing meant anything to them. Consciousness was obliterated through programming.
How far was this in existence? How far out?
Over 1,000 years from your current position in time. They evolved this way. It is you who knew about it but didn't tell anyone. You didn't stop them from going in this direction.
Was I there when it happened?
You were there before it happened. You were hidden, but too frightened to speak up. Sorry. Can you just describe what was going on? I've got to turn off the kettle, otherwise it's going to squeal in everybody's ears.
Okay, go ahead. Just in the midst of Borkum, we have a tea break. And that's okay. That's the way we do this show. We have to the life and times of whatever's going on, you know. I think JP does radio shows all day long, and so he has to still live his life. So that's fine with me.
And I also run a wood stove, which is a really random thing, because I have to load like real logs into it, which are different sizes and different shapes, and sometimes they'll burn for half an hour and then go out. Sometimes they'll, like, as they just did, they stuck a load in, turned the thing on, and they boiled the kettle in 10 minutes, which is like too fast. But it's good because the house needs to get a bit warmer. Anyway, meanwhile, I was doing something really serious there as well.
I know, talking about like this horrible society that's coming up, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, it's a tea kettle.
Hang on, okay. The kettle's boiling. Let me just go and get a cup of tea. All right. Right, so over one. I just gotta have. I can edit this bit out. No, edit this bit out.
No, don't. Please don't. Please don't.
Because you know, I'm not a professional actor. Let me just say that this is the professional voice reading actor kind of thing, and I'm just a computer programmer and an audio engineer. So
You do pretty well. I mean, we got all these different characters, and you seem to have created some kind of personality and tone to them. Not exactly as I hear them, but that's fine. I love your rendition.
All right. Well, anyway,
You couldn't do with the sounds that they make. I mean, it's just some of them are bellowing. It's just like, oh, all right.
Really.
Yes.
Well, I can go further away and talk louder. Yeah. So
and then Meetis is more like he's kind of like whispering, talking like this.
Oh, is he more like that?
Yeah, you make him sound a little more nerdy, but he's really kind of more sleazy.
Oh, sleazy rather than nerdy. All right, okay. Anyway, so Borkum is loud and grandiose, I believe.
Yes, he is. He kind of,
Yeah. I tried to do that, but I always end up just being me. That's because anyway.
That's okay.
So let's try and because
you're closer to Andronicus' sound, actually. Your natural voice is closer to Andronicus.
Yeah, I can imagine. So anyway, Borkum. All right. So you ask how far out in these existence?
How far out was this in existence?
Over 1,000 years from your current position in time. They evolved this way. It is you who knew about it but didn't tell anyone. You didn't stop them from going in this direction.
Was I there when it happened?
You were there before it happened. You were hidden but too frightened to speak up. You asked to remove the controls to set people free, and there you have it. A society of lawlessness like my homeland, Imogene. But then, it took a turn, and no one wanted to work. They all took to the street, consuming what wasn't theirs. I know you didn't intend on this to happen. You were too gracious. Your thought was there was good in everyone and believed they could self-manage their experiences and decisions. We hated what you did. You changed the laws and made them too lax, purposeless, without value or enforcement.
I'm speechless. I don't understand the entire story. I don't know how you would be angry at me if I have not done anything yet. Why don't you warn me and request that I learn this information and help me to provide better instruction in my future incarnation?
This is not an incarnation. You should have known better. You disregarded the impulses of the human condition. You didn't recognize the others working discreetly to program the minds of the youth that were hard to communicate in their adulthood. It was a latent programming that didn't emerge until each child reaches their late 20s and 30s. Just at their primes, they were released to a serum of toxic thought, irreverence to their own kind. This is the reason why some have traveled in time to make your life miserable. You were identified as a child.
I suppose you were one of them who challenged me?
Never. I was on my journeys, but discovered an entry portal of those who hid in the bunkers and would not be programmed. They informed me that it was under your jurisdiction, your rulership and your guidelines which allowed this lawless society to flourish. It is a group of guardian race called the Sons of Thunder who accused you of the collapse of the human race that ended in 3240. They have come back in time to judge you and monitor your work.
Is this true? Who programmed everyone that created this reality? It sounds like me to have freedom and fewer boundaries for people, for them to learn to take responsibility for their actions and have a higher consciousness of living. I can't imagine I would have intentionally promoted lawlessness where innocent people and children would suffer. That has never been me. And who are the Sons of Thunder? It sounds like a biker gang or some anti-establishment group.
They're not any of those things, but they have left a mark on your society to let you know they exist. They are the other sons of Rhodan. The sons he undoubtedly had not informed you about. That is the reason why he said you were on trial. You never understood this. You were tried in the Council of Orion for a crime you did not commit, because it had not happened during the time you were accused. For this reason, they lose power to you. On the darker side, they're no longer allowed to help you when you need them the most. They were supposed to prevent the programming.
Does Rhodan understand this? And if so, why are you telling me? I don't have authority over this.
Because you know things have not been right. I thought it was best to inform you. It is up to you whether or not you want to share it with the world. It may help them to consider this future existence as one to avoid and be forewarned of a potential outcome. Moreover, consider the sons of thunder who are amongst you now awaiting their pardon from the High Council.
You know I don't understand any of this, and I cannot, nor will not request a pardon for something I don't understand on any level. How do I know what you're saying is in fact true?
Look around you. Discord already exists. These are the embedded programming information of Aldebaran. Aldebaran is not dead. They surpass all of us unless things are corrected here and now.
You are saying that you can hold the mighty Vinkala from Krakus at your feet, and you cannot subdue the floating heads, helpless heads of Aldebaran. How can this be?
It is their subtlety, their lightness that floats by without leaving an obvious imprint. They have always had others carrying out their ideas. They even recruited humans to bid against themselves during the wars on this planet.
At that moment I saw a golden cage with intricate wiring that created a large square space, floating above the surface. There were the 12 sons of thunder. I imagine Rhodan was the thunder. Why didn't he release his own sons? I thought silently. I don't understand this. It seems like a web of entangled existence where everyone is to blame for an outcome and only a few who really or truly intended it to happen.
That's correct. This is how the Council works. You must prove your innocence even in future existence.
I thought briefly about the movie The Minority Report. Then I saw it. The Sons of Thunder were set free. What does all of this mean? A long pause occurs as Borkum checks to see if this actually happens.
You are set free as well. We are now searching for Maria Orsic and 12 of the others involved during the time you were in the Vril, as well as others from the party.
Does this include JP or Primus as well?
Yes, with your freedom he is free as well. Both of you have been working to clear everything.
What about the future? Do we stop this horrible existence from happening?
We will know soon when the programming is removed by the Sons of Thunder. Then you will feel much more personal mobility rather than dodging the imminent problems lying before you. The controls on Primus were steadfast. Now they will be lifted considerably. He, as well as you, has done much work to bring our messages to the forefront. Yet there is still more work to be done. The Council has finally closed their books on the topic. Aldebaran is before the Council and will remain there for 2,000 years in your time. The Vinkala from Krakus, like the orcs in Hobbit, they still present a future problem for you. We'll discuss this at a later time. Enjoy your reprieve. I have nothing further to say to you now.
Can I ask you if there is anything else that I need to resolve that happens in the future, or to prevent it from happening by my own decision-making?
Well, there is the firestorm you create. Do you know about that?
No.
Oh, you must ask Shiva what you need to do to prevent the firestorm. When he asks you to do something, you must do it. That's all I need to say. We all understand that part, and so shall you. Sleep well.
Borkum then nodded his head in an affirming way and walked through a wall of fire. I guess he was stepping right through something else that went wrong. I guess I'll learn about it later. It seems as if he walked through the fire unscathed. And that was the end of it.
So...
Can you imagine I'm going through this and I'm just like,
God.
What is the problem now?
I get you.
Alright, so about 5 years ago, a man came to me and wanted to do a session, and I was doing sessions for him, I don't know, for about a year. On occasion, a couple times, I would open up the Council of Orion, and they would say, you were being tried. You know, there was a warrant for your arrest. And I would feel like, well, what are they talking about? And why am I involved? I'm doing a session for a reading for someone else. And so I asked multiple times, and I literally see a council there. And then it wasn't until now that Borkum explained to me that I was being tried for making a decision that literally destroys the human race in this future time of 3000. Right? But because it's not happening at the time that they're trying me, it kind of goes into like a null and void point. But if I ever need the council, they won't help me. So it becomes this like, so I always wondered why the council it never felt harmonious with the council. People would talk about the council and it never felt right. And now I understand it because they resented the fact that I got off the hook, even though, and then I caused this future problem. But, so Borkum just sort of helped me to resolve it. And this is the whole key of the communication, is that I understand what the problem is so I could resolve and then release, I guess the Sons of Thunder get in trouble, which is, it sounds like a ridiculous name, kind of like, with Meetis, but, maybe they were kind of showing their presence and their rebellion, and they had an influence on the planet. So, and there's that whole Borkum story.
The Sons of Thunder. The Sons of Thunder. Yeah. Yeah,
and I saw 12 of them.
God. Sounds like one would be bad enough.
I know. And what happens is in the future they're underground. They were in bunkers. They don't want anyone to know they're there, and they don't want to participate in the mind control, and they don't want to be around the humans who are just ridiculous, and they probably feel trapped. But they were also trapped by the council for some reason, maybe because they were also in trouble for it as well. And they were in this like gilded cage, like hanging and dangling from like a wall, a ceiling somewhere. It was really weird. It was very high ceiling, and just hanging there.
Well, all 12 of them were in a cage, being suspended. Like, what was their expression? Like in pain or
anger?
They were all angry, and this cage was holding them in.
Yeah, but they were they in like some ways still communicate outwardly, but at the same time, physically they were constrained. And I was like, well, why didn't Rhodan say anything to me about it? I mean, clearly you'd think he'd be upset, but maybe knowing that these things are getting resolved, and we don't know how long our time space is going as compared to theirs, so maybe this is all happening simultaneously, within a short period of time. Maybe they haven't been there for years and years and years. And I mean, I don't know. It's hard for me to tell.
Yeah, because time is weird in these different dimensions and realms and things.
Yeah.
So, and at one point, Meetis was actually said, I'm ahead of you. Now you've caught up. He's like, because like, for instance, when you first spoke to Andronicus, it's like you're speaking a long ago and far away. And he's coming, he's come through the series to be in our solar system. He comes to Neptune, describes what it's like on Neptune, and then Saturn, and so shall we see where he's calling from this time?
Now we have, So we're going to go to a lighter note now, because actually Andronicus is in a good place. At least someone is.
At least someone is. All right, let's hold your nose, jump in, and That was a long slide. Oh, my feathers are ruffled down. You just put my hair back in. I've got my. So, ahem. Greetings, my friends. I find you both peaceful and content in your present surroundings. So nice to observe, considering we are both awakening into a new sun. Yes, a nice sun in the universe, and we are celebrating heartily upon the lovely land of Lyra. How strange to observe many of my friends here on Lyra, along with you and in your dimension of time and space. It is like seeing all of us twice. There is Primus, known as JP, and his lovely wife, Therese. They are still partnered in your dimension as JP and Nikki. Meetis stands beside Primus on the other side. There are many who Primus knows are here now. They are a specific pod group that came to your planet in time to help with the next level of knowledge. Simon is quite a learned man as he is there. I have found his conversations to be quite intriguing.
Who was the woman that came to me this morning? She called herself Tara and was wearing feathered pants and a feathered midriff top that was sleeveless. Her hair was long, wavy, and auburn in color. She greeted me very kindly and welcomed me to Lyra. The clothing that everyone else wore it looked like cellophane clear wrap with a mother-of-pearl color. The woman wore it loosely that covered their body down to their knees, and it had a crisp, otherworldly beauty to the garments that much resembled my angel aura stone in tone. The men wore a similar garment, but it went down to their ankles, more like a Grecian philosopher. I saw a laurel on Primus's head, and many others were there like a mirror reflection of people here, and they were only dressed differently. I saw Dad, dressed in an amazing white silver space cape, similar to the material that Rhodan often wore in his white outfit. The cape signified to me that he had just arrived and had not attuned or amalgamated into their society. And the last surprise was you, Andronicus. I could see you with long blonde hair cut neatly at the shoulder. You appeared androgynous. Did you send Tara to me?
Yes. She insisted on helping me find you. She's a wonderful friend, but also our experimentation with drones, or robotics as you call it. She's my companion, and much like a homing pigeon, she can spot out things from quite a distance away. I had to move through space and time to find you. I am recovering wonderfully from my strange reaction to Mercury. You know that energy is very difficult to balance in. The Lyrans are helping me recover and have had me processing many treatments. Sumptuous food, wonderful bathes, and interesting mental engagement. I find their culture rich and intriguing. Much of the necessities of struggle are eliminated here. There is a refinement. All of the inhabitants here seem to have navigated to the UK in your timeline, with the exception of a few. I felt like I was observing... this sounds like you. Is it?
I felt like I was observing a parallel settlement. Even the monarchs holds a presence here in light form. I have grown to know and love each and every one. No, this is Andronicus.
All right. Yeah. So. All right. I see. Yeah, it is Andronicus. Sorry. I felt like I was observing a parallel settlement. Even the monarch holds a present here in light form. I have grown to know and love each and every one. The arrival of Dag has changed everything. He forewarned us of a Pleiadian attack and said that his arrival changes it from happening. He disrupts the field of disharmony surrounding us, and they have inner turmoil instead of a war with us. The inner turmoil, of course, never goes beyond the conflict and into a war. The trouble within that shatters and much is brought to a more simplified base of living. The Aldebrans no longer have their ear. Dag did this for all of us, so we could enjoy peace and harmonious experiences. We all have a choice to remain here. Dag prefers this as a home base. As a journeyman, I know that I can never stay.
I have so much to ask about Greece, Lyra, and even Mercury. Will you share these things with me?
Right now we're going into a legislative meeting. Rhodan is communicating with Dag and others. I am observing and less of a participant because I am a visitor. I would still like to hear what's being said.
I notice your feet are webbed. What is that?
We're in need of webbed feet here because we're aquatic beings on the planet. Our body can reshape to encounter what is necessary. Farewell, my love. I will continue to visit you on occasions.
How is it that we were able to connect and you were so much earlier in time?
Dag opened the doorway for us to access your time when we are most needed. The universe and all civilizations are returning back into balance. Be careful. Your work is not yet completed. Enjoy your world and sense of knowing. It is good for you to be amongst many friends now. We will bring you to the higher places when it is necessary. I am confident that this time we will not disconnect as it happened in the past. Meetis is now in harmony. The Lyrans have helped him tremendously here. Sending love to all. 88, 9, 24. Stars within stars. Within stars. Andronicus. Jesus. I'm streaming with tears.
Oh, it was beautiful.
So, David Bowie, riding on all the love that he has given, and he's given back,
Yeah.
goes into the sun to travel backwards in time to forewarn the Lyrans of the Pleiadian attack.
And prevent it from happening.
Yeah.
That changes
Everything.
everything between the Pleiadians and the Lyrans.
Yeah.
The Pleiadians go inward and deal with their actual problems rather than outward, creating wars against others. And then the Aldebarans are stopped. At that point, it sounds like they were manipulating.
Wow.
He went there specifically to correct it because it changes everything for our future.
I love him so much. Wow.
I think the world is going to be a better place. And he, as much as he contributed while he was here, looks like he made a huge, significant change for everything.
Mm. Wow.
I thought you'd appreciate that.
Thank you. Wow. So this has been quite an intense thing. Hang on, let's just get that document back. Wow. Because the story is that 1,000,000 years ago, or whenever it was, the reptilians attacked Lyra. But here, he's saying the Pleiadians attacked Lyra. Or are they reptilian Pleiadians?
No, they look like Pleiadians, but it looked like there was a miscommunication that occurred. It was a miscommunication that got blown out from the Aldebarans, and then maybe as a result, the Aldebarans brought in the Vinkala. But I see that the conflict was between the Pleiadians and the Lyrans. But it was a miscommunication, and the Pleiadians had inner turmoil that they didn't know how to deal with. And so they were projecting it onto others rather than healing what was really troubling them. And the part that I didn't get and understand is that what were they really troubled about? But I could really feel it.
Yeah.
So that's something that I do feel that about Pleiadians even here. People that have that connection to Pleiadians seem to be troubled. And I think it's ancient.
Yeah, well, the Pleiadians caused you're only supposed to blow the bloody base up. They blew the whole planet up. And it was a terrible, terrible thing. And there's a terrible, terrible guilt and sadness about it. So that's why Pleiadians are so enthusiastic to want to help.
But they didn't know what was really wrong, and I think it was. I don't think anyone intended that it would go to that degree.
Nobody expected they were only supposed to blow the base, not the planet. The base was like, well, it was an underground base, but something was, there's probably some of the. It was, look, we've discovered this thing called red mercury, this secret thing, right? That is extremely expensive, that drives UFOs. It's the magical thing that it's the purple liquid metal thing that makes the UFOs run. And the story of Die Glocke was the story of this material, how it came to Earth. And it was the development in the underground bases in Germany in 1940 to 1943. Or the 1930 to 1943. That created eventually the Hanebu craft and the Die Glocke as a power unit. That they also discovered if you crank it right up, it disappears in time and space and reappears 20 years later, having torn a hole. But perhaps going through that particular weakness that was created by Gupta sending that signal out. It's like an echo of that same fractal thing. So, what happens on the other side? Who are these beings who we're expecting?
It was beings that I knew about when I was a child, and I just, they kept on saying the robots are coming, and I think they're like, they don't have any feeling. They keep on, it's almost like they're robotic. They don't have emotions. We can't talk to them. We can't communicate because they're in a program.
Yeah, implacable.
And it's beyond human or species programming. It's literal robotic.
Yeah, and that's the Aldebaran vibe, isn't it?
The Aldebaran, I see them as completely power hungry. And I literally saw them as floating heads. And remember, I told you because they were a female species, and there weren't a lot of female species early on, and they got tired of being looked at, and so they just eliminated their bodies. And they had these heads, and I could see the heads, and I was like, because I was asking, why do they look that way? And they said they chose to look this way, and they're very crone looking, old looking, ancient, and but very, very much into power. And so this was their downfall in many ways, and still, they're influencing our time. You can see Borkum was very headstrong in trying to find them, and very elusive, very crafty and highly intelligent. Am I saying that all female species are bad? No, not at all. There's a lot of other females that, come from the Titans. There was female. There were queens there. There was also there's many Andromedans, females. Of course, there's the Pleiadians and as well as the Lyrans. There are females there as well. And so you can also see that they were partnering there in Lyra. And they were, seemed to have a very civilized, very, very civilized race, culture. At first when I saw them, it looked like, and I don't know what the webbed feet thing was about, but it didn't look like they were underwater at the time. It looked like they were above ground, and it had sort of a light appearance, almost like a natural source of light, like the sun. And they also had, it just had this beautiful, like, utopian sort of appearance, kind of maybe a light beige or white kind of buildings. All I know is it was like a reflection of light around everyone, and they were wearing these garments which looked very space age to me, and they were loose. They were not form-fitting, but they almost looked just like a regular dress or a long robe, but they didn't look like they would move the way soft material would. Almost looked a little rigid. And but the people were lovely and very, very agreeable, relaxed, as they appeared to me. And I felt, very, very much like, they were existing there and they were existing here at the same time, and it was almost like the same exact group.
Yeah. That's the projection of the soul group, isn't it?
Yeah. They made mention about the pod. The soul pod.
Specific soul pod. Now, I've spoken about a soul pod before, and Therese.
Therese.
I have a lovely wife, Therese. All right.
Yeah, and it was, they also have broken that name down to me a few times, more than once. It wasn't just Therese, it was Terra Race. So almost like you're like Earth Race or some other, maybe she came from somewhere else and wasn't just there in Lyra. And then notice that Meetis was there next to you on the other side, which I thought was strange. And the woman that came to me, Tara, was wearing these like almost like falcon-like or kind of brownish-looking feathers, beautiful feathers. And these pants, like pants that were just covered with all these feathers, almost like she was part bird, maybe. Like her midriff was bare, and then she had like something covering the top. It was all feathers as well, and she. But he said that she was robotic. She wasn't human, or wasn't even Lyran, but sort of something that he created. And Andronicus looked like a woman. He looked like a woman with blonde hair.
Wow.
He said that he was androgynous in that society, but was, healing and doing well. You had a laurel around your head.
A laurel?
Yeah.
Yeah. Was I bald?
No.
No.
Nope. You had hair.
How funny.
And then they were about to go into some kind of session, a political session at the time, which it was really weird. It was like they were everyone was right in the room with me. Very, very surreal feeling, like the whole atmosphere of the room changed, and I could really peer into the space. And that was the first time I've ever been to Lyra. Never seen that before. And I think it was Andronicus that kind of pulled me in, and he said that it was Dag who created this connection where Lyra and our present time could then communicate. So maybe the door is open for those that want to go in and communicate to the Lyrans. Maybe it's at a space where, it's hard for people to go there because of the destruction that happened before, but now if the destruction part is altered and doesn't exist, then maybe the doorway remains open for communication and more openness about the society and what had transpired there. Or even bringing in some of the evolved ways of thinking that seem to exist there. It seemed to be complete harmony.
Yeah, it's the way it was before the fracture.
Yeah.
Well,
we talked about a new sun, too. I don't know what that meant.
Yeah, let's talk about the new sun.
I don't know what it meant. It's other than what they said. It was almost like they were just talking in the background about it, and I happened to hear it. Or he was mentioning it, but it was just sort of like, I just saw a bird, It's kind of like something like that where it's a topic of things that are happening around them, and they almost seemed innocent, and their hearts were extremely open and enjoying everything that was happening around them. Very much into current events and what was going on, and it seemed to be intelligent and weren't burdened by having to look for food and all this other stuff. It seems like they created a system. It didn't seem like anyone stood out in any other way. Mostly everyone was sort of dressed in a similar way.
So was it a sort of equal society?
Very equal, yeah. And everyone seemed to have a part in it, and they were highly compassionate to Andronicus, helping him to recover from his trip in Mercury. Sounds like he had a lot of imbalances, and they were able to, correct that. Kind of like it reminded me of, and I didn't see any machinery or equipment or anything, but I thought about Elysium and how they had that one machine where you can go in there and kind of reset everything.
Yeah. That's the technology that Alex Collier's spoken about. Mm-hmm. That the Andromedans have, and they basically, if you're ill, they photograph you and then wind the bit back to the photograph takes your whole timeline, and you can just kind of crank it back and holographically reproduce how you were before you were hurt, and then revibrate you with that vibration. And then, boom, you're healed. And I think that when they did that, when they reset their planet, that's the kind of thing that they did. Do you remember long ago you were talking, or the Andronicus said, and it was just a done thing. You just like, boom, one minute they were slaves, and boom, the next minute they were free, because they just reset. They hit their reality reset button. And I think what you just did, Jessica, is do that. With
this whole thing of connecting with Andronicus.
Yeah, and whatever releasing the Sons of Thunder did, whatever deadlock that created in the future that is reflected back to now. Oh, God, who's that? All right. Stop it. God. If you look back at these four readings, conversations, documents, journals, this is quite a story, Jess. And it's also a story of how something that is quite an innocent desire can maybe turn out to have such great consequences. So do you want to tell us a little bit more about this? What shifted? What has shifted in you in the last few days as you've gone through this?
It just feels a bunch of stuff has shifted. I finally found a resolve or resolution over getting in trouble with the Council of Orion. Because, like I said, for about 5 years, I was a little confused about that, didn't understand why I felt like I was in opposition to Orion. So I found closure on that. And then also this whole thing of the Sons of Thunder, I had no idea. I'd never heard of them. I thought it was a joke. Not really, but I mean, I thought, it was a made-up term or something. But, Borkum's not one that I disrespect. I typically, when he says something, it's purely honest and straightforward. Meetis, on the other hand, I don't usually trust what he's saying, but if I get by Zamfir showing up, and when Zamfir shows up, I also respect him too, so that came through. So I felt like I got some resolve where he kind of reprimanded Meetis and made sure he got along with me. Then I saw Meetis again in Lyra, and he never said a word to me, and it seems like he was close to you there, almost like on the other side. So you had Therese on one side and Meetis on the other, and everyone seemed like they were harmonious and happy. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like everybody's got a character, and I suppose what has happened is that those characters have gone on a great adventure and a great initiation. There's been a great trauma and a great healing. And I think it feels like things have changed. Really, since like an hour ago. Something dropped back.
Well, just by putting it out there, I think, is really what they're asking us to do, not to, step through the timelines and make all these changes and go back in time or forward in time. A lot of the times when I'm dealing with these powers, it's acknowledgement. Just acknowledgement sometimes is enough in understanding what it is that they're trying to convey. They're trying to say that, essentially we're doing all this stuff around you to make sure that your planet is happy and safe, and it is rotating as it should, and we're preventing other civilizations that don't belong here at this time from coming in, because it's a temptation. There's so much going on here on the planet. So there's, essentially saying we're doing all this stuff. Borkum's saying this is miserable because I've had to go forward in time, not knowing what I was going to step into, and there he walks right through fire, I still don't know what the fire thing is about, but he has to be the one that kind of, goes into like these places that have not been explored yet, like unexplored ground. And so he's very intense. He's very serious. Rhodan also is intense because he's multi-managing everything, kind of interacting, trying to make sure that there's no problems anywhere. All I know is that I feel like I don't think Andronicus helped me in any way other than he just communicated, and in some way it was like he communicated and let me know that Dag was there and he fixed it to bring that information back and share with everyone. So there should be a personal change in all those that were affected, all those that were a part of the Lyran Society, as well as the Pleiadians at that time should feel a difference. So yeah, I mean, it sounds like they're letting us know because they're ready to share and to create some lightness, and then the knowledge, opens up other doors. So we're no longer having to dwell in that reality. We can step forward into a new reality, uninhibited by whatever constraints that were attached to that pre-existing experience. Does that make sense?
I will if I listen back to it. So, sweetheart, we gotta go.
Yes.
It's been something else today, so thank you so much. Would you like to say goodbye to the people?
Yes, goodbye to the people. Thank you so much for listening in, and same time, same bat channel. We'll be coming back again next week, and I know this is this is way out there, but, you know, hey, that's what we attract right now. People that are interested in finding out what goes on beyond the scope of reality as we know it here in the 3D space. We're looking out into the cosmos and pulling in. I'm kind of like the antenna, just pulling in all the information, writing it down, and then we can have that discussion. So stay tuned in and keep listening. I never know what's going to show up next week. Have a wonderful week, everyone. Thank you, Jason.